When I first got to the studio, I was dismayed once again because for me the very important ingredient, apart from myself, was the drummer. And the drummer that Stephen Street had chosen was a session drummer who kind of played jazz rock and kind of Phil Collins jazz rock kind of stuff, which was awful. At that time it was just not my thing. So, and his personality was kind of a bit he was incredibly over-friendly and I just didn't get on with him ever at any point, and so I was a bit dismayed about that. But Morrissey himself was really happy, very relaxed, because he felt like he had I was on board basically. I'd turned up at the studio, which was the Wool Hall, which is quite a way out, so it was obviously a committed move on my part, and I was there, and everyone was present and ready and correct, so he was very happy, as was Stephen Street, as was I really, but apart from this drummer. It was very, very friendly because the main participants were Stephen Street, Morrissey and myself. The drummer was kind of very overawed by the whole thing because he'd never done anything basically. Stephen Street knew me from quite well anyway from beforehand, and Morrissey was very, very happy and just very funny, and Morrissey and I were very, very relaxed and immediately kind of became friends very, very quickly. And there's a lot of trust involved because it was an important thing for Morrissey. It's like the launch of his solo career, because the Smiths, the end of the Smiths was a big trauma for him, I think. So this was a period when he was just relieved and happy to be working again, and I think he was confident that we were going to do something that was at least going to be good. So it was really great. Once we were in the studio and we were recording and we were coming up with finished things and final takes and all the rest of it, Morrissey was the boss. He was in charge. If something wasn't right, or if he didn't like something, it was Morrissey that would stop it and change and ask for it to be different. I mean, for an example of that was the acoustic Spanish guitar version of I Know Very Well How I Got My Name, or whatever it was, which was my first approach to that song. And we did do a version of that which was correct and was okay. And then Morrissey actually turned around and said, "This doesn't feel right. It feels like we're sat in a cafe bar somewhere performing this as a cabaret song." And he was correct. His judgment was impeccable. He was absolutely right. And we redid it in a different way. So yeah, Morrissey was in charge. Musically, I was in charge of the feel of the music and the chord sequences, whatever. But if the form was not quite right, Morrissey was in charge. It was his baby, and I respected that. I'm exactly like that when I'm working on one of my things. I'm in charge of my things, and I saw this as Morrissey's thing. He was in charge. I wasn't trying to please Stephen Street or Andrew Parisi or the record company. I was trying to please Morrissey and to make it work more for him, because I knew he had a very clear idea of the direction and the identity of what he was doing, and that was the way to go. He was the boss. There was no tension between me and Stephen Street because Stephen Street is a really nice guy. He's actually a very genuine person, and he's just a nice guy. Really is a nice person, and he's not kind of competitive in that way. And I think he was. I'm sure he was quite happy and relieved that I was actually going to do the music, because he knew as well as everybody else that the demos just you just couldn't you can't do. We couldn't do anything with them. They were just silly. Stephen's only previous experience as a musician or writer was in a pub rock band, and he was really a producer and a very, very good engineer. So he wasn't a writer. So I think everyone was very pleased. There was no tension, apart from the tension that existed between the drummer and everybody else, because the drummer, Andrew Parisi, I don't know, saying he's not an unpleasant guy, it just didn't fit, basically. He was just not cool at any point, as simple as that.